changes.
Coming in too.
Hi, Ted.
Any changes? Yeah. Agenda?
No.
Nope.
Okay, public input. Public is staying home, right? Minutes of 120. January minutes.
Any issues with the minutes? Carol's doing a fabulous job.
I move that the minutes as drafted.
Second,
Second,
I'm,
Bruno.
I'm good. I was second it, so I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, all
all
in
in
favor.
favor.
Aye.
Oh. Okay. Gail, you're up
Okay.
with fairgrounds management plan
Yes.
development and short-term actions.
Right, so, Kurt would love for us to come out of the meeting with a subcommittee or task force of, interested people working on the management plan for, Woo Fairgrounds.
Mhm.
I will be happy to be on it. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll
Great.
throw my hat in the ring.
What's the scope gonna be?
Well, we have to integrate the, let's see, we have the natural communities, the bird trail and forestry plans. And so, just come up with a plan to integrate those on just the fairgrounds Lee parcel. We wouldn't be redoing the Woo Ledges.
What? That doesn't make sense. I thought we agreed that we were bringing Lee into the Wool Edges overarching management plan.
But I think we have to discuss this separately, don't we? Does anyone remember?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
I didn't, I propose a work plan.
right.
Mhm.
Well, separate from the Woo Ledges.
Well, no,
Oh, integrated?
yeah. Well, it involved, two actions. One is keep the cattle away from the water. And second was to start, a mechanical invasive
Invasives,
control project, on both properties.
right,
And to address the conflicts between
Binhammer and Benedict. Oh,
yeah,
Angst-
Benham and Brett
Brett,
Angstrom.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that had me, what are the conflicts that you see?
Brandon Benedict says no, the herbicides are safe to use in the woods. Brett Angstrom advises against uses herbicides, as do the grantors of the Lee parcel. So there's a conflict there. I'd ideally love to see the forest management stand map superimposed on the Angstrom
Right.
map.
I agree, Leo. I think that's part of what we're up to here. I'm just gonna bring you guys back to the minutes here. So around this item. From the previous meeting here, organizing around management plan. Kurt proposed that a task force of 3 or 4 members be formed to begin work on drafting a management plan for the 2 parcels.
Oh, for the two.
Talking about
parcels,
Lee
okay.
and Woo. Phil noted that a prior development of management plans was undertaken with the help of a consultant. Which is Kristen Sharpless. Which is beneficial both in drafting a plan as well as facilitating public input efforts. Kurt indicated task force first efforts might be focused on working toward engaging with a consultant. So then we had the discussion that Leo brought up about more important to develop a short-term work plan at this point, which I I think we all agreed to, the idea of in concept. In order to address the highest priority matters and defer the preparation of a more detailed management plan till this priority work is completed. Both consultants in attendance agreed that this would be a suitable approach, although Brendan noted that a management plan would need to be in place before any harvesting takes place on the newer parcel. So, I think we have two things. We knew that, and we've seen it, right? You circulated your proposed work plan, the one pager or two pager. Either way, the work plan.
Yeah, work plan, not a management.
Right.
plan,
We,
A work plan.
right, so we've seen that, but that's a different thing than what was proposed, for the task force. Of 3 or 4 people to begin work on drafting the management plan for the 2 parcels. Right, which I thought our discussion brought us to the point where we have currently the Woo Ledges Town Forest Management Plan. And we have an addition to the Woo Ledges Town Forest, and we have all the necessary elements to incorporate that into the overarching management plan for the Woo Ledges Town Forest.
Right,
So that's what I'm signing up for.
okay.
Back to your
So,
question of scope. As far as Leo's comments and suggestions, I think, yeah, part of this task force will be to honor those concepts and decide how we want to play going forward on that. Right,
so can I just clear up? So I was under the assumption that it would be mostly then just the fairgrounds in Lee. Are you envisioning redoing the entire management plan for the Woo Ledges?
yes, I'm envisioning updating the Woo Ledges management plan.
Updating, not
Yes, to
reading.
include the Lee parcel.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, and also what we need to include in that is this little.
And the
Piece right
small
here.
east, yeah,
Right. So
Okay.
that to me makes sense to take all the things that we know about all these parcels that are here on this one map. And update the management plan.
got it.
That's what I thought we were gonna be doing. So I'm in for that.
Okay, so am I.
Okay.
Do we have a third?
I'm
Oops.
concerned that I might not have the background for where it's gonna go.
Well, that's why we're getting a consultant too. To help step through that.
I miss a meeting.
Last
Last meeting?
January meeting.
I thought I was here.
Yeah, let's see.
You were here.
Refer back to the minutes. We were downstairs.
Yeah, I'm having
Around
a
the table,
tough time
we had
recalling
two
some of the
calls.
details myself, so
We
maybe there
had-
was a lot of
We
discussion.
had Steve Hagan go first,
Yep.
Yeah,
right? And then we had Brendan Benedict,
yeah,
and then, we talked about forming this task force. I thought we were actually gonna do it last month, but we didn't. Task force,
Okay,
subcommittee, call it what you want. In the middle of that discussion, though, was when Leo brought up the concept of work,
of the
Yep.
having a
short-term
short-term work
plan,
plan,
Yeah.
which
which I
is
think,
certainly on the table.
yeah,
and I mentioned we need to get the conflicts resolved. And to do that, thoroughly, we need to revisit the potential use of herbicides on public land. Which is not gonna be a 5-minute conversation.
so
No,
should
but
we
we're
put
not-
that,
Sorry, the benefit or the grantor of the parcel excluded the use of herbicides on leaves, so I don't think we're gonna go in there and say we're gonna start using herbicides. It seems to me like it's not a big discussion point. I guess we would decide we're gonna use herbicides on Woo Ledges parcel now, but in my mind, why would we differentiate and just let's just say that, we got it from somebody who said, don't use herbicides, we're not gonna use herbicides.
and there weren't very many invasives on the Woo parcel,
Right, but we should get them
yes.
while the populations are
Is low.
small.
Yes.
But I think that, I believe, someone reported that there were very few and they could be removed mechanically. Was it the fourth
Brett
one?
Angstrom
Oh, Brett did, yeah,
commented.
yeah. Although he
Which
didn't
the
go back on
connotation, the connotation of that generally is what's within the forest stands. Could be done mechanically,
Right,
and there are folks out there that do that. Then we could hire, or we can figure out ways to do it.
Volunteer.
So should we, try to wait until we hear from Brett, next month? Cause Brett's coming in March. And then resolve that particular conflict when we have everybody for a discussion?
To me, that would be a fine way to go.
Mhm.
And then we can agree on the first two items, the fencing and the invasives, although the fencing is still on? No,
It's not
He said he's
joined
gonna
us.
call in at 6:45-ish, so
Oh.
we'll probably hear from him shortly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so ticking down the list, which I'm happy to do, if we're gonna have open discussion about Leo's work plan.
fencing.
Fencing the cows. Right, we already have people on point for that. Right,
Mhm.
it just needs to get done.
Right,
We just need to be on top of those people on point.
right.
Yeah, I think we should go to the select board with a work plan, if that's the first piece of paper we're going to address. Because I think the select board needs to deal with agricultural use of Lee. And to include water and cattle. And I think Brian Shoup said he was gonna address that,
Mhm.
so,
And somewhere I saw that there's potential grant money for the fencing. So that could
Yeah.
also be, we could try to work on that in the meantime.
I think it's a good idea to hear from Brett. I envision starting the management plan in a year or so, after we've had a little experience with fencing cattle and mechanical extraction of invasives. But
I think it
It's,
could be done simultaneously. I mean, it's still winter. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to take a look at the existing WU plan. And I mean, if there's people that are interested in getting working on this, take a look at the existing WU plan and just start to outline what do we need to do to update the plan.
Right.
While the select board's working on the agricultural piece and while we're waiting for, the sun to come out and be able to actually do some mechanical removal.
yeah,
So I agree with you, Leo, though. I think it would be great if we could I'm looking at this as sort of a two-pronged approach. There's the management paperwork side of things, but there's also, there's a few things that should get addressed sooner than later, boots on the ground. And I think they need to kind of go in parallel tracks.
Yeah,
okay,
I agree.
so.
Yep.
Um,
So do we want to tick down through your short list of things that the people that are agreeing to be on this subcommittee will be looking at in the near term?
yeah,
Should we do that?
so
Do I-
besides the
I-
fencing
Do-
and the conflict, we can discuss after Brett comes.
yeah, you're still looking for 3 people, right?
Yes, right,
And 2,
what?
But
well,
let's make sure we know what the committee is gonna be asked to do. If
Yes.
we're gonna be talking about Leo's proposed work plan. Okay,
is that,
here it is. I'm looking at it right now. Okay. First of all, we have a bunch of documents that contain certain management recommendations which would directly conflict with one another, appear incompatible in part or in whole, or involve projects which will require the assistance of others and budgets higher than current levels. Resolution of these issues and development of a long-range management plan, a blending of philosophy and reality will require time and experience. However, there are priorities identified in some reports where there is wide and strong agreement and which could be accomplished in the near term, say 2 years. There is good cause to move ahead here. Accordingly, we propose a 2-stage plan. Take 4 actions now, evaluate where we're at the end of the period, and then proceed to develop a longer range management plan for the whole of these lands. So I think this is where I struggle with it, Leo. I think these 2 stages can occur at the same time. We can start building up the long range management plan as long as what we're starting with is the existing WU management plan. And we're doing an update. I think they can be, the short term and the long term can be happening at the same time.
Okay,
So
Yeah.
that I just want to
yeah,
state, and then here are the short-term comments or suggestions that you brought forward. 1, cease pasturing adjacent to water courses, fence off the streams or access to the pastures. 2, arrange an invasive inventory in the wooded portion of the properties by specific location if possible. Remove some stems by mechanical means, follow up to determine degree of success. 3, natural communities map appears to present problems and opportunities regarding appropriate land use. Bring Engstrom, Benhammer, Benedict together to identify the most critically important natural communities and sustainable compatible land use. 4, create standing dead snag trees through girdling with on-site assistance from Steve Hagenbu. And 6, use UVM interns and volunteers where appropriate. So those are what you stated, and I think that anybody that would be part of the subcommittee would be willing to work on these.
Yeah.
Do we feel like that makes sense?
yeah,
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're asking, whether or not, are we voting on this? Are we
No,
agreeing to?
I'm just saying, if we're gonna be on the subcommittee, we're gonna be utilizing some of this guidance or proposed guidance
Right,
that we're agreeing to help with both short-term and long-term items.
That's fine with me.
The plan, so the object is that we're gonna be doing stuff while we're also developing a long-range
Right.
management plan.
right,
Right, and we're not just going to do this first and then do the long-range plan,
right.
and we're not just gonna do the long-range plan. And
We're
do
gonna
all these
address
short-term
the
things later.
short-term things, correct,
I propose that we try to do it in concert,
right.
okay.
okay?
Um,
So that's in conflict with one of your statements, that's my point.
well, is it up to the subcommittee to research and come up with conclusions as to how to proceed? Or what would the committee do at first? What would be the first?
So it seems to me that, whoops, I'm sorry. It seems to me that the short-term items can be done. The subcommittee doesn't need to be the only ones responsible for, getting the invasive
Mhm.
species and getting the fencing done. I think we can be all in agreement on at least the first two until we have Brett next month. And so in terms of that, we could start with the contacting Brian Shoup, maybe getting a plan together for the select board, looking into the grant for the fencing. And for the invasives, using, I think you said in your notes, using the volunteers from University of Vermont. We have, we're pretty sure that Kurt was able to move some money from the Lake Champlain grant from gravel, removing the knotweed from the gravel. Because we don't have really a methodology for that, he's been able to move that to the to renew the goat project for one more season. So we will have at the Lee parcel, we will have the goats again, so that will be handling some of the invasives, and then whatever the, students have done in the past.
Yeah.
So those are the first two. The conflicts with the Engstrom report, that will be discussed next meeting. And then the creating dead snags through girdling, that, I think that might be in conflict with Brett's. I mean, we could just discuss that also in context with the natural communities,
It-
if that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
on your short term.
You can, we can. I think that's a question for Brett.
Right,
In terms of handling potentially fragile things, I think that map shows us where all the fragility is. And I'd sure like to get from Brett a reading as to compatible uses. If there's some place in there where we shouldn't encourage pedestrians,
right,
let's know about it and take it off any potential trail layout. If there's a place where any kind of logging would do serious harm to a natural community, let's find out about it. I think until we get a better feel for what's out there and its abundance or scarcity, and a better feel for compatible uses, it's hard for us to proceed very well. And drafting a management plan is a major task. I mean, Brendan's report is 60 pages long. And I don't think, my personal opinion, I don't think we should attempt to do anything like that. Because we don't know yet what we want. And absent a goal and a kind of a step ladder to get to it, we can't even get started because we don't know what we want.
or what we have.
Yeah, we don't understand enough about what we have.
So the first two items on the list can be done without potentially damaging or making big strides towards changing anything significantly, the invasives and the fencing.
Right.
So can I propose that we start, the subgroup starts, or the task force starts trying to get those pieces into place. Then in March, we discuss with Brett, and then we also engage in a consultant to help with, but that will take us later than the next meeting. And we can try to aim for the end of the year. So when you say that the other management plan is 60 pages, after looking at that, that's why I wasn't necessarily signing up for redoing all of that. That seemed enormous. So I was assuming that we would be doing this and then, adding to, but I don't know that I have the bandwidth to redo that management plan.
Okay, so let's step back a step. We have a similar work product from the former county forester for the original Wu Ledges forest. It is nowhere near as robust as what Brendan put together. Brendan did a really good job of overdoing what he needed to do for us, which was awesome. He did go through the natural communities. He knows Audubon and what their needs are because he's a county forester and he's dealt with what their suggestions are. I am not suggesting we rewrite his plan either. His plan is a piece of our overarching plan. That's one of the pieces of the information that we have. Just like we'll have a 60-page plan from Brett Engstrom, right? The beauty of all of this is Leo's number 3, the map overlays, all right, the conflicts. Our consultant, if it was Kristen Sharpless again, which that doesn't sound like it would be, can take all that data and make us the map. How do you want to see it? What do you want to be highlighted? The power of GIS is ready to go right here to make this, whatever information we've got that's graphically or visually displayed, we can do it. So I'm not worried about that at all. One of the easier things that the consultant would be able to do. Plus has the capacity to do it, right? But we need to do it. And for us to pay Brett or ask the county forester or Audubon to do it is not the way we've done this in the past. What we've done in the past is we engage with a consultant. They take all this good stuff that we've hired and gotten done, and we start building. We've already got the plan for Woo Ledges. We just need to expand it. I don't see why we can't do them at the same time. I know that what you proposed on the document that you put forward was something that you'd like us to sign off on as a work plan to the select board, right? That was your plan. This is headed to the select board.
Yeah,
Right, which is fine, but I don't think we need to ask them for permission to do those things.
we ask,
We don't need to get the select board on board to do that stuff. They're already on board with that.
well, fencing the cattle out is a select board item.
Sure, and one of
But
the
they're already
select board
working on
members
it.
is part of the point.
Yeah, they're already somewhat working on it, at least,
Right.
you know, not formally, but we have a commitment from a select board member that they were gonna approach the farmer and have these discussions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's rolling.
Right, so I feel like we have select board buy-in for that already. We'll have to press on it, but we have to press on all these things, right? An invasives inventory in the woodland, absolutely, it would be awesome if we could get UVM interns or some other folks to go out there and help us with those spots, because Brett already has a bunch of those spots GPSed. Great, and we know how many we've got, let's make a work plan and go do it. We can do that stuff as that committee, while we're still working with whoever the consultant is to help bring the plan along, because the public's gonna wanna be involved with this,
Yeah,
particularly when we get Lee really rolling, we start working on it. And people realize that we've opened the hood on the Woo Ledges plan. We're gonna need public input. That's how we do it.
recreation,
All of it,
All of it.
yeah,
right, all of it.
yeah.
So I'm not daunted by it. I think we've done this before.
Okay, so
I
short
can
term,
credit the amount of work it takes.
No, it takes a long time. I get it, but we're not planning on
Right.
getting this done in the next 3 weeks.
No.
okay, so short term, we agree that we will try to hit the first two. We'll talk to Brett in March about the third. And there's a subcommittee, at least two, working you in? Anyone else?
I'm on the fence still.
Okay,
Well, I'm already on the Woo Ledges subcommittee, by the way.
Yeah, I
You
am
didn't know
too.
that.
I'm on the. It's true, I
Okay.
We're on the
can't-
trail committee, which this sort of fell apart when PJ left us,
Right.
to be honest.
I mean, I'm happy to commit, or to contribute, I should say.
Okay.
Commit, you know, is difficult. If I knew what was going on more with Scrag and I didn't have something that could potentially start looming again in a month and a half or 2 months in terms of funds.
Yeah.
okay. So at least for now, to keep the momentum of the meeting moving. We have succeeded in getting what Kurt hoped was that a start for the task force and a start for your action plan, for the short-term action plan and the long-term planning. And then we'll discuss more when Brett is at the March meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Hey,
would like,
hey, folks, can I jump in?
Sure, Bill.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hey, this is Phil. So, I joined about, 7 or 8 minutes ago. So I obviously missed a bunch of the discussion, but trying to sort of pick up the threads, and I like what I'm hearing, and I think I would echo or second everything that Chris has said in the span of the last 7 or 8 minutes. And it sounds like there's, kind of a two-part thing of the picking up on the conversation from last month, if I'm understanding right, of the, sort of short-term work plan priorities around fencing out the cattle and things like that Leo had raised, and then getting going on figuring out how we're going to tackle the sort of full management plan process, integrating the various inventories that we've had done and things like that. So that all sounds great to me, and I'm game to be involved, like, to the extent that I can, which will be a little bit, we'll see, in the working group or task force or committee, whatever we're calling it, to try to move things forward on a management plan, and, figure out how to do that. I'm not committing at all to being deeply involved in writing it, in the way that I was with the Tardy plan or something like that. But I've, been involved a lot in this, in the whole process with the fairgrounds parcel, as well as with WU more generally. So I'd like to try to be a part of that, sort of point group for moving the management plan forward. And I guess I'll just, while I've got the mic, just say my availability over the next month for doing much on that is very limited, but I'll try to join a conversation with whoever else is on the group if that's the time frame for it. I think I'll have a little more breathing room later in the spring, particularly when the CRB project shifts to a next phase, and some work related stuff for me backs off. And then also I'm going to miss the March meeting, so because I'm going to be away, so that's unfortunate timing, but it is what it is. Okay, thanks. I'm going to go back on mute.
Thanks, Phil.
So I heard, Phil offering to be part of the committee.
Yeah.
Did you all hear
I
that?
heard that too.
Okay.
Yeah,
So James, if you still want it,
James.
great. If you want to keep your hands in Scrag and back away.
I'll stay out for now, but then if you guys, like I said, if you get to a point you need some assistance with certain aspects, feel free to reach out.
So we have Gail, Chris, and Phil.
Yeah,
Currently
I think
committed.
in a way I was spoken my piece. So I think I should be out of it. I mean, we'll all get to review this
Right.
at some point anyway, so. But let's leave it to Gail and Chris and James and Phil.
I might call upon you for more of your expertise.
Well,
I get a tutorial.
I'm happy to do that for you. So I think we can agree with that. That all right?
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Sure.
And the next task for this small committee is to do what? Before Brett or after Brett?
I'll look into the grant for the fencing to see if we could get a small grant for the fencing. And then when we hear from Phil, did you hear anything from Brian about the discussions about the pasturing?
No, I haven't gotten an update from Brian yet. We've been sort of ships passing. So, and I know things have been, or I gather things have been pretty busy with the select board and getting a new town administrator on board and with the preparation for town meeting and things. So, yeah, I don't know if there's any news on that, but I can try to circle back with him on that to see what the latest is.
So we'll just keep pushing on that.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Thank you.
I feel
Sure.
like the part that I would be willing to commit to before we meet with Brett is to start a search for an appropriate consultant
Great,
to
that's
work,
wonderful.
an appropriate consultant to update the management plan.
Okay,
That's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
We'll
good.
start looking.
Okay,
So that's my action item.
That sounds great. Yeah, Chris, maybe we can be in touch by email about ideas for that.
That'd be great,
we have
Phil.
one or two of the same people in mind, so. Terrific.
okay with this?
No, I'm fine with everything.
Bob, you okay with this?
Yeah, if I fit in anywhere, it would be boots on the ground type
Okay,
of stuff.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna start sharpening my shears for some, barberry, but
Get your digger out.
that's it.
okay. Have we covered the subject?
I believe so.
Okay, financial matters, Bruno.
Yes, I sent the January report this afternoon, this morning. And what you would notice from that report is that what we approved at the last meeting was not reflected yet, is in the process of being paid for the month of February. Just a reminder, what I had mentioned last time at the meeting is that we are going to deplete our general fund account. We have number of invoices that need to be paid. It would be reflected. That would most likely it would be reflected for the February assets. We had the $500 for the Medway Valley Bear Initiative, the $50 annual memberships, the $1,325 for the Sinuosity, and then the Brett Ingstrom that we're going to use the money to pay portion of from the general fund, and the remaining will be paid from the Town Forest Stewardship Fund. And the last one was the invoice for Red Star for $250, which will be paid out of the invasive species. What you have received from me today is the asset position plus the interest that was earned for each of the accounts. And the last thing is I had sent a second email today for the invoice for interval for the plant that we planted this past fall. The invoice amount is $6,290. As per my email, I had mentioned that that general money would come out from the lake, from the grant we received from the Lake Basin, Lake Champlain Basin program. So that would be going to use that money to pay the specific invoice for interval. So what I'm seeking today from the commission is to approve that interval voice for in the amount of $6,290.28. That's what I'm seeking for from the commission today. Once I receive that, I will send an email to Steve, our treasurer, to process that invoice. And as you recall as well, from last meeting, Kurt and I had met with Brian Shoup. We want to try to separate the invasive species with the Emerald Ash Board. That hasn't happened yet. I am not chasing Steve now. I'm going to wait until after town day meeting. When that is settled, then I can go back to him and talk to him about it and see I can follow up with him with any specific detail. With that said, so let me recap. The one thing I'm seeking from the commission tonight is the approval for the interval invoice, which was in the amount of $6,290.28.
So
Motion,
I will propose a motion that we pay the intervale balance of $6,290.28.
Just a quick question.
Yep.
Bruno, it sounded like, and forgive me, I can't quite hear everything via the phone, but it sounded like you're saying that will be paid from the Lake Champlain Basin Program grant, and or with funds from that, at least eventually. Is that where the money's coming from, like right away, or do we need to designate an account that this payment's going to come from, and then it'll get made whole by funding from the Basin Program grant?
So currently, Phil, in our invasive species, we still have a balance of $9,975. So you definitely use that one. But we have, just an FYI, one of the reasons we have roughly $31,000 from the Lake Champlain Basin program for invasive species. So the money will definitely going to come out from that Lake Champlain Basin program grant that
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
So should we specify in the motion or an amended motion that this would be paid from the invasive species reserve fund and will be reimbursed from the Lake Champlain Basin Program grant?
We can definitely do that. I think we should just specify that this needs to be paid to interval is going to come from the invasive species, and then the money will come from the Lake Basin Champlain. Yes, so to be details, Chris. Phil. Sorry.
Okay,
Gail, you want to update your motion?
Okay, I update the motion to say that the money will initially come out of the Invasive Species Fund to be reimbursed by the Lake Champlain Basin
Grant.
grant.
program grant.
Second,
Second, Ted. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Bruno, there's a possible, question from an auditor, a town auditor. Because the invoice is made out to Friends of Mad River. Right? Friends, we don't have
Oh, Bill to Friends of the Mad River, you're right.
Friends of Mad River. That's the party being invoiced.
Oh.
So do we need to contact Intervale and get them to update the invoice?
Well, it's a question for an auditor, you know. Why are we paying
Somebody
Friends
else's
of
bill.
Mad River?
That-
So we can ask Bruno to fix it,
Yeah,
fix it.
I will fix it and I'll send the, and when I when I send the email to Steve, I'll fix it with basically have this invoice send it to us, which is the Waitsfield Conservation Commission instead of Friend of Mad River. But that's a good point, Leo. The auditor will red flag and say what it is. What does a Friend of Mad River has to do with the Waitsfield Conservation Commission? Good catch.
I was an auditor twice, so they get picky about things like this.
Mhm.
Okay, you're gonna fix it, good.
You're absolutely correct. And then this is already past due. This invoice is actually since that last year in October. So they're looking to get paid right away.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thank you for the catch, Leo. We appreciate it.
Okay, that's the second one I've found since you've been treasurer. But you take care of them very well. Okay, Scrag Trail Grant update, James.
I really don't have much of an update. We applied by the deadline and it's in limbo until probably April or so, I imagine we'll get some feedback. There was a concern, given the federal grant freezes, that this may actually turn into nothing. So there's that too, but they still encouraged everyone to apply. They did indicate it's gonna take us a few months to get through all the applications and start selecting potential grant recipients, so. They're hoping to have some better understanding of the federal commitment by the time they're hopefully ready to award some grants. But I'll just again say thank you for everybody's input. Special thank you to Gail for doing some last minute heavy reviewing. I did share that copy of the full application with you all by email if anybody wants to dive into it. But otherwise, just gonna.
Appreciate you guys hammering this out. It's a lot of work to do in a hurry.
Yeah, I wish I'd gotten started like a week earlier, but I was kind of like, all right, get through the holidays. And I was like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just echo the thanks, James and Gail. Really appreciate you guys carrying the water for us on this one. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
did a lot of work on it. It would be a real shame if the feds didn't come through.
Oh, well, yeah, or if we just don't
Get it, yeah, but it would be worse if the Fed,
Right.
if it.
Well, I mean, the good news is if we don't get it, that just, I have our marching orders if we don't get it.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there'll always be something more to do.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Plans for 2025 invasives.
Okay,
Gail.
so. This year, we had a record 27 students from UVM's Rubenstein School apply for the summer intern slots. Jack Lenz, who was an intern from 2024, is returning to serve as the project coordinator. The goats, as I said, are likely to come back. It looks good, and I was just talking to Mary Beth today about the distribution of animals, and she's gonna try to have them go through earlier, starting in April, and then being able to make 5 passes.
Yeah,
So hopefully we'll have some data and some clearing through that. And then Noelia and Marianne, no, what's the two researchers from UVM submitted a grant application last week to the Northeastern States Research Cooperative. And the proposal aims to test another idea for the management of knotweed in Vermont's Mad River watershed by studying the removal timing and then introducing different combinations of native plant species. And that effort will be a collaboration between Warren, Waitsfield, and Fayston Conservation Commissions, using both greenhouse at UVM and field experiments to determine the best timing for native species introduction to enhance habitat restoration. And this is all from Kurt. It's a great example of the Lake Champlain Basin Program grant stimulating related research and advancements. And then the Vermont Land Trust is holding a webinar on the 26th that features Mad River Valley Initiative. And their goal is to spur other regions to initiate invasive species programs.
good,
Mhm.
good. Comment? Could we maybe use those folks to do an invasives inventory on the wooded parts of Woo and Fairgrounds?
So that certainly is possible, especially well, we'll have to check with Kurt on what the Lake Champlain grant requires, because the volunteers are getting paid by that grant. And so I don't know if they're restricted to the water, to the river itself, the river banks, or whether
Right.
it's the watershed more generally. I don't know how it's written up in the grant. That's,
Okay.
Kurt will have more information on that.
It'd be a great way to get an inventory done.
Yeah,
And give the interns a little variety of tasks. Yeah,
well, we have an intern from last year that was, do you remember, Bob, the names? I don't remember the names of all the,
I was down under last year.
but that would be, I think, a question for Kurt, because he remembers all the names.
Okay.
And the assignments that they had.
okay. All right. Anything more? Any other questions for Gail? No. Okay, we'll move on. Other business. Next meeting, March 17th. What is March 17th?
St. Patrick's Day.
Probably Monday.
Right. Very good.
The day before my mom's
St.
birthday.
Patrick's Day. You wanna meet on St. Patrick's Day? That okay?
Sure.
At the pub.
All right.
I'll be there in spirit, but not even virtually.
Okay. All right. Brett Angstrom will come next meeting. Wetlands education, Bob and I. Misha Belfort. And I put forth my idea of a wetlands education walk. And Bob filled me in on planning, Arizona planning. So what they're going to do is put together a proposal and a budget. And Misha suggested that they might be asking us, the Conservation Commission, for some seed money.
Hmm.
So anyway, I haven't heard anything, have you, Bob? No. So I expect that'll be forthcoming. It's not really Conservation Commission task. It's just my own idea, but it's the project is in the same ballpark that we play in, so. Okay, any other items? Nope. Wear green next time.
Okay.
No, I jumped the gun this month.
I know.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Gail, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks,
Thank
Gail.
you.
Thank
Night,
you.
all. I'm gonna stop it.
Thanks, work, folks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Stay
Have a good
warm.
night. Bye-bye.